So, Coach, we have grown by 38% last year. What do you think should be the growth rate that we should be gunning for this year? Was one of the questions that got asked by our board member in the board meeting. Hi, this is Shweta here, and I want to talk about this question a little bit more because you could be in that situation thinking about what's the right level of the ambition or the target that you should be setting for your team and for yourself. Now, look, what I've seen very often is that people apply a certain percentage on their last year performance based on how bullish or bearish they are feeling about their sector or about their business. Now, that's fine. You can have that approach, but I think there is a better way of thinking when you're setting the target. And this is exactly what we discussed in the board meeting. And by the time the discussion was finished and the client went back and actually did the numbers, he was like, wow, that's amazing. Actually, we are going to grow even more aggressively compared to 38%. But let's talk about how this all went about. Now, this business, and this is Steve, and he owns a product distribution business and has got multi-channels operating within the business, right? So he has got Amazon, he has got his own website, he actually has his retail, sales team present as well, and then they've got B2B nationals and B2B distributors. Now, typically what the team and Steve, they were looking at doing was they looked at their last year performance, they looked at different channels, and they said, you know what, I think we can grow overall by, and again, wanting to have the same ambition. So they grew from 6 million to 8 million. And I know it's 33%, but I'm just rounding it off for the sake of ease of understanding. And they were saying, okay, fine, you know what, let's go for another 38%, 33% growth rate, which was taking them to around 11 million, right? So fine, nothing wrong. Absolutely, we can continue with that kind of growth trend. But the point is that, look, as a business owner or as a business leader, your job is to create as much predictability in the business performance as possible. Okay. The business performs in a predictable way with less variation and is delivering consistent, solid profits is a beautiful asset, which has got a solid asset value. Now, if that's your role, then you have to think that how do I set the target and how do I ensure that our actuals come as close to that target as possible, right? I'm not a big fan of variation. If it's a positive variation or a negative variation, my first fundamental question is, what is it that you didn't see which you should be seeing, right? Where did that variation come from? So this is how you have to think that how do I deliver that performance which is as close to my target as possible, which means my target is based on some solid logic and not just some, yeah, I think we should go for this one. Now let's go back to Steve and what the discussion was. So it was like, fine, we want to create a bigger and solid asset, right, with a solid asset value, which means we need to have those growth pillars within the business. We want actually the own channel, as in business's own website, to be growing bigger. We want the retail presence to be stronger. And we were also very clear that we want to have private product approach, right? The private labels in the portfolio, which is what creates a bigger multiple effect when the business is actually valued. So looking at that, actually, then there was a channel by channel approach saying, and look, it might sound very commonsensical to you, but if I were to show you the numbers with which Steve and we work together, like, you know, the whole work that happens, you'll be very, very impressed because it is at such a granular level that we know, for example, for the channel product by product, like SKU by SKU, what are the kind of average values, you know, what's the kind of, empty baskets or people abandoning their baskets. Similarly, for retail, we would know what are the key accounts, key products. So it's analyzed at a very granular level. So we said, actually, for Amazon, we are not going to be having any growth numbers, even though it grew by a good level, but we are not going to be designing that growth in Amazon because that's not in our control so much. We want to keep it at the same level, but we want to grow the share of other channels, which is, for example, the website channel. So in that, one of the key things that was analyzed was not so much to spend more or do more ads, but it was that the person, that we don't have the right person in the right seat. And therefore, one of the key action points was that we need to hire a better talent there. And by the time the hiring would complete and the new person will get inducted and start performing, we won't get the full year effect. And therefore, the percentage on own channel or on online channel was actually at a lower level, wherein we know that in the next year, it will be much more aggressive, right? Because we will have the person fully embedded and we'll see the full benefits. Moving on to the retail channel, the question was saying, okay, fine, look, our retail sales team is already doing well. They're growing in double digits. What do we do that we can, again, ask them to do better and, you know, kind of go for bigger numbers? Of course, we are talking about penetration. We are talking about, what's the kind of range of products which are being sold in each account, all that stuff. And we said, yeah, we can go for double-digit growth, but it's not looking like 33, 38% growth, because what's the logic? How will they grow? And then the analysis, for example, in this case happened that if we were to analyze our top products, which are the top three brands which are sold within the retail channel, and how are they doing? And we know that they're making good margins. There are top three brands. We want to grow further. And once the numbers started happening across the key accounts and the rest of the accounts, it was like staggering. I mean, the growth rates were looking stronger than 38% in retail channel, right? But that was the approach, which was more the brand approach, and saying we're going to have these top three brands, which will be grown further. Moving on to the B2B nationals and B2B distributors, over there again, and linking it with the retail channel as well, the idea was to then say, okay, fine, this year we want to have X percentage of growth coming from private labels. And there are some really exciting things in the pipeline. Now, with that, you can imagine there are better listings in nationals. There is better conversation happening with the distributors. And also it gives us further wider product range to our people who are targeting retail side of things. Now, once these kind of channel approaches with proper numbers are added together, seriously, the growth rate was coming out to be coming in late 40s. And that actually, interestingly, not scared or fearful or whatever, but that was little unnerving to say, oh my God, we could be like growing by around 46%. We need to kind of, taper it back so that it looks a little bit more manageable. And that's absolutely fine to do, because you have to be inspired when you look at the targets. However, this is the right approach. When you're breaking the business down into its separate channels, you're looking at separate, sectors, if there are separate sectors, or separate salespeople, and you're looking at the variables or the input variables which result in the output, which is the sales growth, like the revenue. I think that's where you get confidence, conviction in your target setting, and you know exactly what levers or what pillars that you're building your growth on, right? And the best bit, which I absolutely love, is that at the end of the year or at the end of the quarter or month, depending on your time slice, when you look back at the actuals and you break it again down into your input variables and you see, okay, fine, how did this channel do? How did this salesperson do? What was the conversion rate? Or how much did we sell per key account? Or how did our top brands perform? You really understand, the accuracy or the depth of your strategic thinking. And that is where you're fine tuning your approach, your thought process, the way you're looking at the business, and more feedback loops get created, more accurate your planning becomes, or your strategic thinking becomes, which is where the game really is, right? So my request to you is that, yeah, you can have a very quick, easy, lazy, whatever way of saying, yeah, let's put this percentage growth on our last year. Or you can actually sit back, look at the business, and really see that if I'm building a long-term asset here, and I really hope you have that mindset, because that's exactly how we work. It's not what's the target for this year. It's like, what exactly are we trying to build? What's the asset value we're trying to create? And therefore, which channels, which sectors, which products, which private labels we want to have dominance in the overall growth design. And if that's the approach, then you're building something really powerful. So I hope that helps. And listen, one more thing is, we get so many of these experiences and conversations where clients are like, oh my God, you know what? This is what we targeted for this quarter, and we're so spot on. And I'm like, are you surprised? And they're like, no, not really, because this is how we had designed, and it's so spot on. It's just wonderful. And the confidence that the business leader gets when they're delivering on their ambitions, oh my God, I'm sure you understand that, right? It is so powerful. So listen, I have a lot of passion and excitement for strategic thinking and how are you designing your growth. So if you feel this is something that you would love to build on and have more of in your business, please do reach out, because this is what we've been doing for the last so many years. And we are known for getting results for our clients in a guaranteed way, because we know exactly what we're doing and how we are going to be delivering this growth. So reach out, and I would love to have that conversation with you and help you with your journey. You take care, and we'll speak to you soon.